Happy New Year.
Hello, Happy New Year.
Hey guys, I got a wild one for you here. This is Moppy, the 15th and newest character of the Vancouver Pups. I was just really itching to do something creative over the last little while, so I just decided to come up with a crazy concept, and now we got a brand new character here for the show. This guy's completely made of yarn. It took about 3 months in total. I think I started this guy on September 30th, so that would be about 3 months, but I did have a 2-week vacation in there, so it's more like took about 2.5 months to make this guy in full, from concept to completion. And yeah, it all started with a sketch that I drew down about 3 months ago. And all right, so when I first started out designing Moppy, I knew I wanted to do another full body creature that had like a big round belly, but I also had this shape in my head, this sort of like domed tubular sort of pill shape that I couldn't get out of my head, and I wanted to do that for the head. So that was sort of my main inspiration, was mainly that pill shape for the head. And so I just started sketching things out, and I sort of had these like trumpet kind of shapes coming out of the head, which I did like, but I quickly realized that it looked a little bit referential, and I felt like I'd seen it before, and I realized it was either the Honkers from Sesame Street or the mascot for one of those sports teams in Philadelphia. I don't even remember what team it was, but I remember there was some sort of creature that looked just like that and had that shape, and I realized it was too similar, so I decided to change it up. So I then decided to change the mouth and make sort of like a beak, so it'd be kind of like a platypus, big shaggy platypus kind of thing, and decided to give it big long shaggy ears like a dog. So basically only when I second time around changed the face, but I wanted to keep the body the same, and I wanted to have skinny legs, and yeah, it all kind of came together really well. And sort of after a while, I eventually had a pretty good idea of what it was going to look like in the end. Hopefully, that is. Alright, so here we go. So, one of the most important steps of creating one of the full-body big puppets is to have a strong understructure in place. So here we are. So there it is after drafting the pattern, and I did this one in black just because it was some random sheeting fabric that I had left over. But I'm going to have the 3 hula hoops in there right now to keep things stable, but I'm eventually going to replace those with some of the more softer, more flexible steel boning wire. But I still have to draft the actual pattern now for the body of the puppet itself. So it's nice to have the more sturdy hoops in for now. Yeah, there it is. So there's no, the only way to get into it is just to through the bottom here. And I think the 3 hoops will be good enough. Yeah, so now I'm going to drape the pattern on here for the body of the puppet. All right, so I had some scrap white fabric here. So here is the first mock-up. So I'm now going to take the understructure and fit it into here and see how the fit is. And I think the easiest way to actually get this thing in here was to put it on myself. So let's see. Try and get this all centered. Sleeve. It's not the greatest, but it might be okay. We'll see. All right, so the body I'm pretty happy with. I think that the fit is going to be pretty good. There's the front, there's the back. I'm a little worried about the sleeves. They're not perfect. They're not bad, I have to say. I don't know. I might just go with it. Their arms are they're a little twisty, which I don't really like. I don't know. I think I might need to add a little bit extra. I mean, yeah. This thread here to snip. Yeah, I think that I will add a bit to the front and subtract a little from the back, because it looks a little twisted around, which I don't really like. Anyway, but the body's the most important thing. Yeah, the length is good. Okay, so good. So now what I need to do is figure out how the head is going to go on this. And this is the tricky part. I need to, I don't know, I need to figure out whereabouts the head and neck pattern piece is going to be attached. Because what I want to do is have basically a zipper. So here's the front. I'm going to be cutting a lot of this out, it looks like. I'm going to tentatively draw this line, because what is going to be the head piece going to come down. Under. Alright, I'll just tentatively draw this line here, and what I'm going to do now is see if I can somehow draft the pattern. Oh, how am I going to do this? I got to think here. I wish these shoulders came out more. I'm just not that happy with these sleeves. All right, so I've been thinking about how I'm going to get the dome shape on the top of the head. And see, originally I was hoping to get one of those plastic little domes you can get in gardening sections of gardening stores. It's like a little plastic dome that you can put over plants to act as sort of like a greenhouse. And I remember seeing those everywhere, just in the spring, of course, when people are buying plants. But I went recently to places like the Looney Store and stuff, and the garden section of Home Depot and I couldn't find them. We're in the fall winter now. So that's too bad because I thought that would make a really good understructure for this, but I'm going to have to make my own now out of foam, it looks like. So I've been trying to think how I'm going to make this dome shape. And I'm doing a little experimentation. So this is a little ring that I made that's about 32 inches in circumference, which is good. I want a multiple of 4. Because what I'm going to do is make this out of foam, I think. So I put this on myself too. I thought that looked pretty good. But I think that a 32-inch sort of circumference to the tube will work fine. So what I'm going to do is make the understructure first, and I'm going to make that out of foam. And the reason I wanted to just get an idea, let me look at my picture. I want to make sure that's, I don't know, now I'm getting a little worried that it's too big. No, I'm going to go for it. I have faith that that's going to work out. So let me see here. So 32 divided by 4, what is that? 8? I think, yeah, I think that's 8. So basically I'm going to make a tube out of 4 panels of foam that are 8 inches wide. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't come out too much as like a square. Let me think. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so that's my next step, is to make the foam, start to construct the foam tube, and then I'll do some sculpturing in order to get the shape for the top of the dome of the foam. So you'll see how this all works. So first thing, like I said, is to get 4 panels of 8 inches. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly show some of the materials that I'm going to be using in order to make this puppet. A lot of them were cheap. I picked up this foam, these rubber gardening gloves and these rubber toy feet from the Looney store, so they were the cheapest. But I always have a supply of the hook rug fabric, which you can get at Michael's in packs, or if you're lucky enough, you can find it on the roll at certain textile suppliers. And I had this curtain, which is an old piece of fabric that I'm just going to use for the lining. And this is the yarn that I've decided we're going to use. Basically, I'm going to take this really nice acrylic yarn, and I'm going to cut it into 10-inch length strands, which will be folded in half, and then they'll be used in order to make a texture on the hook rug fabric. And I've done this swatch, and half the left side of this swatch, the yarns are every other loop, and on the right side there's a yarn for every segment, so it's much more full. But I think that in order to make the project lighter, there's not much difference between the two sides, but I think that I'm going to do them every other loop so that the project goes a little faster, because we have a lot of area to cover and I don't want the costume to be too heavy. And I think it'll look just as good. And the thing is, if I ever want to fill it out more, I still can. Right? It's a lot easier, I think, for something like this in order to just add to it than take away. All right, so I think that's going to be pretty good for the body of the pattern. I got the sleeve finally right. I like the way it hangs. I think it's looking pretty good. So the one on the right side I redid, and that looks good. So this is just a temporary block that we have here. I just quickly put this together so I could get the basic shape of the top of the head, as well as, of course, the diameter. So basically, when this gets redone, I'm going to re-pattern draft this block, this foam block piece, in order to make one that's a little more round and tubular-like. But in the meantime, this is a good form for me to just use so I can do some draping and pattern drafting on. I also just want to add some extra seams. I've been thinking, I darted the pattern here because I just wanted to get the basic shape, but I don't think I'm really going to want to have darts. I'm going to actually make this into a seam. So I'm going to add some seams here. Instead of having a dart, I'm just going to add a separate panel. So I think I'll just go like this. Oops. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll put a seam there, and I'll do the same on the back as well. Let's just carry the seam sort of up from there. I'll add some balance points as well to and on the front here I'll add one here and one maybe here. And then the front, so there's the center front seam. And we already have the back seam, so that's fine. All right, so that's fine. So I think that's... Oh, I got to do the same to this as well. I almost forgot the front. I need to know where the center front is on the front. That actually needs to continue down to here. So I'll do the same on the back too. Okay. All right, so the seam is one piece, yeah. So it's sort of a raglan sleeve, basic bun. I think this will do well. It's just sort of a... The thing is, normally I like to have darts because they don't, then you don't have a lot of seams on your work. But since this is all going to be covered in texture, I realized it didn't really matter having the seams. So I might as well just put the seams in if it makes the pieces easier to cut and sew together. Because doing darts with the fabric that we're going to be doing would be really annoying. So this is just going to be an easier method. So that looks great. So now what we're going to do is I need to draft the pattern for the fabric that's going to be over the top part of the head. This is the shape that we want. So there's going to be like some pieces that cover the head, and there's also going to be a cowl that's going to connect to the body through a 40-inch seam that goes along here as well. It'll be attached with a zipper. So let's work on that next. So I got this plastic bag, and this is going to be a very unusual, strange shape. So there's a really great method in order to get really strange pattern pieces very quickly. And I learned this through a cosplay YouTuber. She's a costume designer. I think her name was Kamui Cosplay. And she does stuff like this all the time. So if you want to see lots of great videos on pattern drafting, very strange shapes for costume design, check her videos out. So I'm going to cover this with plastic, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like wrap this whole thing with tape. Pretty tight. Okay, so I think that is probably... You want to make sure that everything is covered with the tape. I'm just feeling right now to make sure it feels like it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take a marker. All right, so I've already made those basic lines. I'm going to mark with a marker where the cut line is going to be. So here's the front seam. It's going to end around there. I've marked just the line that's sort of parallel to the shoulder. It's going to be one solid tube, so that's where it's going to end. I'm going to cut along here. Yeah. Just continue this line. Here's the back seam. I'm going to put CB for center back. And follow this seam up. I better get on a chair here. I'm short. I need to make sure I can see what I'm doing here properly. So this is going to come up here. We're going to draw this seam all the way up and over. All right, and then I also want to do a side seam, I think. Or do I? No, I don't think I do. I'm just going to draw the lines for the cuts. Right around to here. All right, so there I've marked where I want to cut eventually. Now I'm going to work on the cowl. So I'm going to write down here, I'm going to continue this down, and this is still the plastic bag that's been taped. So right there, this is the center front seam that's going to connect to the body. I'm going to draw this around and follow this up. I'm just tracing over the seam that's already on the body. And this is going to go like this. And there we are. There's the center back. All right. C, B, and this is CF. All right. So I'm going to have to see how that looks. I'm going to have to true this seam to make sure that it all flows nicely. But now what I need to do is take this plastic off and cut along those lines, then flatten it on paper so that I have a flat pattern. And then, yeah, I should be able to do that up in fabric the same way that we're going to be putting together this. So that looks great. So what I'm going to, and then the other thing I have to do is I have to do another foam insert that's a little more circular, tubular, because this block one was just here for our pattern drafting. All right, so that's it. So the next step is to cut this all up and flatten it and put it in paper, and then sew up a mock-up just to make sure it all looks good. So let's just do that quickly now. All right, so here's the plastic piece that we taped up for the head, and that gives the basic shape here. And then I did it flat on paper. So this is half of what we need. We need this doubled, and I want to use this foam. Now I want to try and get in order to retain the tubular shape as much as possible, the circular shape, having it sort of seamless, I want to make it out of as few pieces of foam as I can. All right, so there's the front piece, but we still need to add a piece to the back. That's just one of these panels, so that there's 8 peaks. Yeah. All right, and I can even draw a line right down the middle here. Let's see, this is 8 inches wide, so I'll just put 4 inches and then just draw a line straight down the middle, just so that I can identify this as the CB. So there's the center back. And this larger piece, this is going to be the center front. All right, so now I'll just cut out the little peaks. All right, so there we go. So what I'm going to do now is, basically this needs to be glued to this, and then the whole thing is going to be made into a nice, hopefully pretty round loop. Hopefully it's pretty round. There is going to be 2 seams, but that's just the way it is. I didn't have foam big enough, but it should be okay. So what I need to do is attach, at least start here. I don't know how I'm going to do this. What's the best way to do this with all the little parts up here? I wonder if I should slowly do those. Anyway, I'll think about that. I'll move on to the next step. But the next step will be gluing, so let's just move on to that. All right, so here's sort of what the plastic pattern pieces look like after I had taped them along the ink lines that I had made. Here's the center back. Here's the back piece, half of it at least. This is the center back, and here's the center front. So when I flatten these out onto paper and retrace them out, we end up getting these. So here's the pattern pieces. Here's the front cowl and here's the back cowl piece. And here was the headpiece for the tube, and that ends up looking a little something like this. And I have to actually put in these darts, so that's fine. And yeah, here are the body pieces that are all been traced off, and the seam allowance has been added. So here's the side parts from the front and the back, and we have the center front piece, the center back, and a sleeve. That's the biggest piece of all, is the sleeve pattern piece, which is all one piece. So there we go. So now all I have to do is just cut these out of our fabric. So let's do that now. Well, the understructure is looking pretty good, but I still have those plastic hula hoops in here that I got from the Looney store. And I was just mainly using those so that I could pattern draft the actual understructure. But, you know, now that it's built and complete, I can take these out. They're just a little too stiff and rigid. I like to use flexible steel boning. And I get those from, I get these big hoop skirts that I get from Asia. I just buy them on eBay. They're really cheap. And if you get the really big ones, these are like the sort of crinoline underskirts. And if you get the really big ones, they only cost like around $20 or so. And there's like, you know, 5 or 6. There's usually like about 5 or 6, sometimes more, steel hoops in there that you can use. These are always fun to take out because it kind of just pops open. I always take off the tool on these too and reuse that. But yeah, here's a hoop. And then this one that I got for about $20 from China on eBay, free shipping, so super cheap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, there's 6 hoops in this one. And you can just pull these right out. And these are great. These are really useful for doing these understructures. Characters like Harwood and a lot of my other bigger full body costume puppets all have these. So here's the bottom one. This is the biggest, the longest. This will be the longest one. This is a little overkill, and I'm just and they come with these little plastic little dividers that just sort of like hold it together. So yeah, there you go. So now I got lots of boning for the next few projects at least. But this one's overkill. I don't need one this big. In fact, the smallest ring in here might even be good enough. But basically there's there's 3 rings on this understructure. There's 2 sort of medium-sized ones and then a smaller one up here. 1, 2, 3. And that's going to give Moppy his shape. So I'm just going to pull these steel cables out of here and I'll just use some really strong cutters to cut them down to the right size, and that's what we're going to use for that. Because these ones are a lot more flexible. The hula hoops I'm using are pretty stiff. These ones are a lot softer, more bendy and pliable, but they still hold good shape, so they're really, really good. So yeah, so I'll pick out the 3 best cables out of here, cut them down to size, and insert them, and then that'll make a much more soft. This is pretty good, but these will make a much softer understructure. So let's see how it looks. All right, so there's a few supplemental materials we need. Let's check out Fabricana and see what we can get. Let's go.
Yeah, it should be right. Okay.
So here's the yarn that we're using for the puppet. I want a felt that's close to this. That's a little darker, but it's not bad. I'll get 1/2 meter of this.
Right about there.
I make puppets.
Indeed.
So this is going to be for the, I make a mold, and then I use this, I stretch it over it, and I use fabric stiffener, and it sort of makes the mouth. So that's going to be the mouth of a puppet.
And that's all you need is gray today.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Well, I got this bias tape. Yeah. Alright, so I'm experimenting with the beak now, creating the beak, and I already did some preliminary work. I sort of created the top plate of the beak, and then here is what I think I'm going to use as the bottom. So this will be kind of like this. And this is sort of the arch of the head, which is up here. So yeah, so basically I got some clay and I got my tin foil. So now I basically got to start creating this. So we'll start with the foil. I only got 2 blocks of clay. I hope that's enough. What I'm going to start doing is just building up the groundwork. And we'll just start seeing how that looks. And once I got a basic shape with the foil, then I'll start using the clay. All right, so now we can finally move on. Now that we have the mold done, so here's the beak. Here's the top beak. That worked out really well. Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention that I had given these a coating of the Mod Podge. I actually did a couple coatings just to seal the clay. But yeah, there he is. The top beak. And here's the bottom beak. So the mouth will look like something like this when we're done. All right, but now that's just the mold. But now what we actually need to do is make the fabric shell of this mold. So here is the felt that we picked up at the Fabricana. And that's what we're going to use. And we're going to be using this Mod Podge Stiffy fabric stiffener fabric in order to do that. All right, so I think we have everything we need. I've already prepared a whole bunch of little pieces of tape. We're going to need lots of tape, and I want to start by just covering these molds in a layer of plastic. All right. So there it is, all wrapped up in plastic. The whole thing is covered. I'm going to redo this one. I think I'm just going to add one more piece of plastic to this. All right, so now we are going to I just have a plastic bag here. I'm just going to use this to waterproof everything because it's just going to get a little bit wet. Okay, so now we need to cut some fabric. So I need a piece big enough to wrap around each piece. All right, so we'll do the top first. So here we go. So what I'm going to do now is basically, I think I'll start here. So we'll tape our first piece here. And now what we're going to do is just sort of start stretching it over. I'll start by going over here, I think, and tape this side down. Right, and then we'll come up here. I can trim this a bit too. Let's see, let's trim. This is going to be able to trim quite a bit. All right, so just let's see. I'm going to go this way next. It's been a while since I've done this. Let's see. I was self-taught how to do this. I just kind of experimented and figured this out. This is how I make a lot of different mouths for puppets with really cool shapes. So you can see it's already starting to take shape. You always want it to be tight. And you could occasionally want to look at the front part to make sure that there aren't any like weird wrinkles or stuff going on to screw it up. So now I'll do these corners down here. There's one on the bottom part of the beak, and here's another. The curved parts are where you really want to like pull it. Make sure it's nice and tight. So it looks like a mess back here, I know, but that doesn't matter because that's all going to be cut off in the future. The important thing is to make sure the felt is being pulled enough to make nice, smooth form of the mold on the front. And so far it is. So far it's working really, really well. So just keep on pulling. I'm running out of tape. I thought I made more than enough, and I'm actually running out. Okay, so now we're ready for the next step. So these are going to be basically coated in a stiffening fabric stiffener. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that I get the edge really well. So I don't have a full bottle of this stuff, but I should have enough to do this project. And I have these just to use as stands afterwards. All right, so this is, I need a little container. Hold on. Alright, so the first thing, I'm just going to make sure I go around the whole edge here to make sure that the edges are all really well coated. So, yeah, basically I want to go like this. And just make sure that the bottom here is all coated. All around the edge. And you can be heavy with it. Generous, I should say. Yeah, be generous with the amount you're applying. And this stuff is just sort of like a thin Mod Podge, I think. It's like, I don't know, it's like a starch or something. I'm not quite sure, but it basically makes the fabric, it dries clear. That wasn't, I hope I have enough of this stuff. I'm not sure I do. I should probably just work on the top one here, and I might have to get more of this stuff. I have like about a quarter of a bottle. Alright, so there we are. That's all done, and here I'll just quickly go around the edge. So I should always make sure, of course, that you have clean hands if you're going to be doing this and touching the fabric, because you're basically sealing anything that's on the fabric. If there's any stains or marks on the felt before you do this, well, you're basically locking it in. So make sure that your hands are clean. Just get more here. Alright, so there we are. I just want to make sure that the whole edge is covered. Alright. So now I just want to make sure that the whole top part, I guess we're going to have enough of this for sure. Make sure that it's fully covered. Hopefully I'm getting this on camera. Yes. Okay, so there's the top. That looks pretty good. This should be completely covered now. Nice and stiff. Well, we're going to have enough of this stuff after all. I can tell that we're going to have enough, so that's fine. And yeah, this is the method that I used in order to make the beaks, the face, the mouth parts, whatever you want to call them, beefs, muzzles, of hardwood, lobo, cobble. That might be it. So this is, I think, the 4th time that I've used this technique, and it always works. Yeah, hardwood, lobo, and cobble. I have the molds. The original molds that I used for those, I still have those. So if I ever want to make more of those faces, I can. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so we're done. I'm just gonna make sure it all looks good. So that's it. So I'm just gonna let these air dry now. Doesn't take long, but I'll just leave them overnight so that. Yeah. All right, so it's the next day, and the blocks are looking good. They're all solid now and dry, and they look good. They look great. Now, I also, this is the garage for sale. I can't remember what it said. For sale, garage sale. Yeah, garage sale. So this was the garage sale sign that we got at the Looney store. I just traced out another set of plates because I used the last ones out of cardboard to glue to the bottom of the blocks. So now I'm gonna cut this one out. All right, now we could pretty much just use these as they are, but I want to make them extra strong. So I'm just going to take these popsicle sticks and glue these to the back of these in order to really strengthen them up. And I'm going to do them all on the back side here. So I'm going to do something like this. Yeah, so I'm going to use the contact cement to do that. But first I'll mark... Yeah, I'm just going to quickly mark these. All right, so while we're waiting for the popsicle sticks to dry on the mouth plates, we can now, I guess, work on removing the felt shell from the mold. So what I do is, I usually use a small pair of snippers, and we're basically going to be cutting along a line here. I'll even show you with like a marker. It's about 1/4 of an inch or a centimeter like this. We're going to be cutting along here around the whole thing. So it's about, yeah, I would say almost 1/2 inch actually. Yeah, I'd say about 1/2 inch. Cut all of this. I'm going to do this on both plates. And you can just cut through tape and fabric. All right, and then here, this one will go like about like this. I think it does help to plan out the cut. Normally I would be doing this in chalk, but I've done this, I kind of know what I'm doing here, so. Being a little brave by using a marker, but that's fine. Okay, so there's the first one. Let's do that one first. I'll try it with regular scissors. I don't know if I'm gonna... Oh yeah, this might work. Little tiny snips and just carefully cut. right, so there's the first one out, the bottom one. You can see it's a nice... It's still soft and, you know, somewhat moldable, but it is, relatively speaking, quite stiff and, yeah. So I'm going to just pull off any extra little bits of tape that is stuck here. Okay, anyway. Now we can take this plastic off if we wanted of the mold, but whatever. I'm just going to store the molds away after this because now we don't need them anymore. So there's one. Now I'll do the... Now we'll do the top plate. Sometimes the smaller snippers make it easier. But I find a combination of, different kind of cutting tools will help. You could even use a blade just to do this if you wanted. It'd probably work if you had a really strong blade, like an X-Acto knife kind of thing, but sharp, scalpel kind of cutter. Would work too. All right, and there is the top plate. So there we are. There's the two shells. Like I said, I'm just going to go around and pick off the little bits of tape that are still left over. But for the most part, there's the two shells now. The top and bottom of the mouth plate. So now what we have to do is attach these to the plates to give them a little more structure and stability. And so let's do that next. All right, so what I'm going to do is, here's the plate, and here is the shell. Basically, I'm going to be adding contact cement to the inside part of this seam allowance that we cut. So it's kind of tricky, because I'll have to kind of hold it over the jar and kind of use my brush to try and make sure that I get the glue only on the inside part. And then we're going to glue the edge. Here's the top mouth plate. And I'm going to put glue on this part here because this is what's going to go stick up onto the plate, the muzzle. Okay, so here we go. This is always kind of tricky, gluing like this. But I'm going to basically, it's kind of hard to film this too. I don't know if I can, well, whatever. I explained what I was doing. Yeah, it's gonna carefully put contact cement on the inside of the top plate. Okay, I think I coated that as best I could around the whole edge. And this one's a lot easier to do. So I'm not going to wait too long for this contact cement to set because I want to be able to kind of move it around, slide it into place and make sure that it's sitting properly. So I'm just going to pretty much, I think, set this in now. Okay, there we are. We put glue around the whole edge. Here we go. This is a bit of a nerve-wracking step. So then how, yeah, oof. Let's see. I'm going to slide this in like this. And this trick of these corners. There we go. There we go. That looks pretty good. There we are. I kind of like bent it a little bit to get it in, but that's okay. I just gotta make sure my hands are clean before I touch this more. All right, so I really want to make sure that we're going around and making contact between the fabric and the plate as best we can. Another method is, yeah. Okay, so I'll just wait for the contact cement to dry a little bit more, and I'll just keep pressing it. Yeah. So, yeah, bid, and that's it. Basically, that's finishes that step. And then for this bottom chin, this is the, like, sort of the chin. And I forgot, there was something I wanted to do to this before I glue this one. This one's easier to get in, though, the bottom one. But I need to alter this bottom plate. But in the meantime, I'm going to just keep pressing this plate and making sure that the glue is sticking. And that the muzzle or the beak and the plate are well connected. All right, so there it is. So I don't know. I got mixed feelings about how this turned out, but it's going to be okay for now. I kind of wish this is going to be like a little beard hanging out from the chin. It should be fine. I was kind of hoping, I kind of wish the fur was a little closer to the edge of the lip, but I think it'll be fine. But if I want to redo it in the future, I always can. That's always an option, of course. All right, so now we're going to do the glue thing again. All right, so there it is. So just gonna like keep on pushing that contact cement together between the plate and the bottom mouth plate and the beak, and then that's sort of how it'll look. All right, so now I also cut out some black fabric that are the same shape as the mouth plates, and I'm just going to glue those to the plates now, just using regular glue. Yeah, a lot of I've noticed a lot of puppeteers or people that make puppets often use red or pink fabric for the inside of the mouths, but for some reason, whoops, that's way too much glue. But for some reason, I like black. I've always liked black. Pretty much all the Vancouver pups have black on the inside of their mouths. All right, so I'm just going to do a very light coating over this. Doesn't need to be too thick. All right, and then here we have to just carefully, go like this. Just make sure that the edge of the wool, the felt, I should say, covered. Alright, I'll just sort of place that on top. And lay it down. There we are. That looks pretty good. I'm going to be trimming the beard too and shaping it a little bit. Yeah, I've decided. And I might also be stuffing it because we can still get into the plates through the back. There's a hole in the back here. So I think I might be putting some polyfill stuffing in there just to help support these pieces. Alright, so there's the first one. Now the bigger one. Alright, so there we are. There's that one. So let's let those dry, and then those plates will pretty much be done. There's a few other things we have to do, like add the tongue, and we still have to attach these and attach them to the head, but at least the basic form is done. So there we go. Alright, so I just want to attach the gloves now to the body because I want them to be just attached so that you can slide your hands in and out. So what I'm going to do is actually just snip the side. These are the gloves that I got. They're like work gloves, rubber work gloves that I got from the dollar store. And I liked these because they had this interesting sort of grid pattern. It just looked kind of different. It looked kind of like inhuman, sort of like very abnatural, not, you know, this sort of like grid pattern and something that could be very different for a pup. So I'm just going to slice the sides here. This is the part that's just knitted. Wow, I can't even get the scissors in. Get it in there. Okay. Yeah, so there, I want to do that on both of them. All right, so there we are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'll be hand sewing this part, but basically I want the inside of these to be pinned. And it's pretty obvious. I basically want the bottom of the wrist to be sewn where the seam is. So I'm just going to hand sew those on the inside. Yeah. Alright, so things are looking pretty good, huh? We've done a lot of work. We still have a lot to do, but yeah, I'm really happy with how things have sort of been coming together. So we're all pretty much ready to start putting the texture on. You can see I attached the zipper. This was a 40-inch zipper that went all the way around. That attaches the head and the body. So now, you know, it'll just be a lot easier to work on the head without it being attached to all of this. You know, we can just take the head off now and work on it separately. But anyway, we're working with more than one color, so we want to make sure that all of the color is carefully planned out. This is a simple one because it's only 2. When I was doing marigold, I think it was like 4 or 5 colors. Yeah, at least. It might have even been 6. It was a lot, so everything had to be very carefully marked out. This one's only 2 colors, and it should be simple. I drew out a little circle here that I'm going to be using as a polka dot marker. Just make the polka dots the same. And I already sort of marked where I think the dots are going to go on the original sketch, but I don't know if I can show this. I might have to just scan this and show us. Oh, that's not so bad. But I just drew a little part in the back. There's the original sketch. It has the the circles marked out where I want it. I just sort of planned out the back as well, to I could make it look as even as I could. So that's it, but there's a lot of leeway here. But I'm just going to take this marker and just mark out approximately where on this body these circles were. All right, well, I don't know how well that shows up or not, but that looks pretty good to me. I have laid out all the circles that are going to have be purple spots. I start to even them out as much as I can while still making it look random. Okay. So it's time to start latch hooking then. That's the next step. Let's start working on that, see how long it takes. Alright, so I have to start cutting the yarn so that we have the actual material in order to make the texture. So, like I showed earlier, this is the yarn we're going to be using. And I also chose this purple. So this is the purple we're going to be using to make the spots. And this is the same quality of yarn as the silver. Yeah, and this color in this brand of yarn is called Raisin is the color. It's sort of a dark purple. All right, so I got this cardboard board here that's 5 inches because I want the fur lengths on Moppy to be 5 inches. So how I do this is, this is sturdy cardboard. I glued 2 pieces together. So you just start winding. You basically start at one end and you do a full round. And you don't make it too tight. I'm just loosely wrapping around the cardboard. And you can count these if you want to go, if you want to know like how many strands you're doing. I do that sometimes to estimate, you know, how many loops I'm getting per skein of yarn, you know, so you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very easy. And that's it. And normally I would just keep going until the whole thing is done, but I'll just show you guys how I do it. And then I lay it flat, get my scissors, and just cut along the bottom. I cut through every single loop, and there we are. Now we have a 10-inch strands. And the reason you want them 10-inch is because with the tool that we use, remember this one, I showed you guys how I use this in the marigold episode. But yeah, basically the strand needs to be looped in half. But I'll show more about that once I'm at that step. First of all, this is going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of yarn, and I need a lot of these strands. So I'm just going to keep on winding this up and just getting ready. We're getting ever closer to starting to add all this beautiful fur onto this fun little guy. This new pup, new addition to our family. It's coming together nicely. We're probably around the halfway point at this point. Maybe I'll even, no, maybe not quite. Still a lot to do. Anyway. All right, so I'm not going to go over this too much because I don't want this to be a latch hook tutorial, but, and I kind of already showed this, I'm pretty sure, in the marigold episode. But basically we're going to be, now that we have all of our 10-inch strips of yarn, we're going to fold them in half to make it 2 5-inch strands. And then you put the latch hook tool through that. And then the hook goes through the latch, and then this yarn gets wrapped around the hook and then pulled through. So there it is. That's what we're going to be doing, and we're just going to be covering this whole thing. Well, not the whole thing. We're going to be doing every other loop, remember, because I did my little swatch at the beginning and found that doing every one was just too full. It's not necessary, and this is going to be a very heavy project. So, yeah, every other one like that. And then when I do the second row, it'll be sort of, so it's like sort of a crisscross pattern, kind of, right? It's sort of like a checkered, I should say. So it ends up being sort of like checkered. All right, just like that. So there you are. So that's what we're going to be doing. All right, so I'm hoping to get most of this done in the first week. But we'll see. It might take a few weeks. Who knows how long it'll take. But here we go. All right, so I did a little additional work here. We're ramping things up, but I wanted to get some of the more finer details done, so I did a little extra work to kind of get things going here because I can't show everything. It's just too much involved. The one thing I did was I drafted... we're almost done putting the fur on the body, including the head. So what I did was I made a big floppy ear. So this is the pattern that I made with paper. It's just a long ear with sort of a bulbous end. And here they are. So I made them... Basically, they're backed with felt, the same felt that we made the beak from, and then one side covered. And there's two ears. This one with the purple's coming out of the left side of the head where there's going to be a purple spot. And then I just put these hinges on. These hinges, it's like a shelf hinge. So these will actually, oh, and I also worked a wire around the outside of each ear so that it's kind of stiff and I can mold it. And then, yeah, added a hinge. So there we go. So I got two of those that I'm going to attach to the head. This was that, at first I thought it was a dog's toy, but it's way too thin and flimsy to be a dog toy. I think it's actually a baby's toy. But I got this from the Looney store. This was like $1.50 or whatever it was, and it's just a baby's toy. But I thought this would make a really, really good tongue. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it this color yet, but yeah, it's like thin, kind of rubbery plastic. It's got lights inside, but I'm going to be cutting this and pulling all those electronics out. This should be perfect. So I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to be painting that or not, but I'll make a decision on that soon. And then here are the feet. I did a lot of work on the feet, and they're pretty much done. here they are. There's and I went ahead and I painted these claws because I wanted them to be gray to match the rest of the body, basically. So I just covered them with a silver paint, added a wash, a dark wash, and then a Mod Podge. And these I made, I didn't I should have taken more pictures of how I made these, but basically did the same technique. I took one picture, I think, of me making these shoes, but basically I did the same technique I did with the head when we were pattern drafting, is I covered it with, I made the shape with my own shoe that I kind of wanted, covered it with plastic, then covered it with tape, and then cut out drew the lines and cut out the pattern pieces, and then, yeah, made it. The bottom is vinyl, and it's basically made of the latch hook fabric and then covered in fur. And I put a little pocket on the front here. There's a pocket in the front of the foot here that's sort of like a little sleeve or a pocket that the claws go through. So there's the first one that I did. I put that through. Now I gotta put this through the second one. So I'll show you basically so here it is. Basically I'll stick this in here. Yeah, I actually put these on to try them, and they're pretty comfortable. And they can fit a lot of shoe sizes. I made them pretty loose because I might not be the only one ever wearing this costume. Hopefully I can collaborate with people and get other people to put these on. These different puppets and costumes that I make. It'd be fun to start seeing other people starting to use some of this stuff, but we'll get there. We're getting there. Yeah, it's pretty snug. I wanted it to be snug here, and then there's just some like little cords here at the top to stop it from going all the way through, even though I don't think that would happen. All right, so there we go. So there's the 2 feet. This one has a little purple on the back as well on the heel. All right, so I'm just gonna keep on working here, guys. I'm just gonna keep putting things together, and yeah, at the time of filming this, I'm actually working on the leggings right now, and hopefully those won't take too long, and those will come together pretty soon, and we should be just about ready for our first major fitting. So let's just keep on going and, yep, get her done. All right, so I've been working hard on the leggings, and we're 50% done. Well, we're more than 50% done now, because I have one of the leggings done here. I've knitted this, and these are the little tie roll ends from when I switched colors. But basically, this is going to be made into a tube, and this is going to be the inside seam. And I'm going to use these little these ties, these ends, to just attach them. And that'll make a really nice big long sock that will go from the foot up to the top of the inside leg. But like I said, there's 2 legs. We only have one. We need the second one. So I'm going to tell you the pattern. I mean, this isn't going to be a knitting tutorial, and this isn't going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people who don't knit. But for those of you who do knit, I'll just quickly explain the pattern. Basically, I cast on 80 stitches onto a number 6 needle. This is a number 6 circular needle. And the yarn, this is the same quality yarn as I use for the rest of the body, the gray and the silver, or the silver and the raisin, I should say. And this color is Sahara, and this color is amber. And yeah, you just do a 2x2 ribbing for 10 rows in one color, and then switch to the next color, 10 rows of a 2x2 ribbing. And you do that for 200 rows. So that's what that is. It's 200 rows. And the yarn is a number 4 worsted yarn. I think that would be everything we need to know to recreate basically what I've done here. So that's it. So I'm just finishing, looks like the 20th row here. I'll quickly do this. And yeah, I mean, if you are good at knitting and you know a lot about knitting, you could also do this on circular needles and do it in the round. But I only have really long circular needles, and I kind of tried casting on. I don't knit in the round very often, so I kind of got confused and it just got all messed up. So I just decided to go back to doing it flat and just attaching it at a seam. It's just going to be fine. Should look good. I think it's gonna look really, really good. I like how it's sort of this sort of brownish orange and this dingy yellow. It makes it look kind of like dingy and old, and I just like that. It looks aged. Looks like something you would have seen on a puppet from the 70s or something like that. All right, so we're done with the Sahara yellow. So I'll just cut this off here for now. Now we're gonna switch to what they call amber. I don't think this looks very much like an amber. This is more like a terracotta kind of brownish yellow, orange, I mean, orangey brown. Terracotta, I think, is a good term. So I just take the two colors and I knit the first two together. And then I just drop the color I don't want anymore and switch to that. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep working on this, guys. This probably just take me another couple days. I can usually easily do 40 to 50 lines a day just while I'm watching something on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this up, and then the only thing we have left basically to do is work on the face. I have most of the features done. I just have to attach them all. So we'll have to do that, and I do have to figure out a way of, well, I kind of know how I'm going to do it. Basically, I'm going to keep the socks up, I think I'm going to attach like a belt with little garter straps. I think that's probably going to be the safest way to keep them up. I don't want them slipping down, because if these socks slip down, the person wearing them isn't going to have a very good way of pulling them back up in this costume that they're wearing. I mean, it's got a huge midsection. So they got to be nice and secure, but I got some ideas. Yeah, I'll start working on things. Hanging out, listening to music. Knitting. We're almost done the second leg. Yeah, a lot of time goes into this. And I'm pretty slow. I have a lot of friends who knit that are very fast. And they could have gotten both of these legs done pretty good. Yeah, just gonna keep at this for a little while, and we'll be done soon enough. And we can move on to something else on the project. My boyfriend said I look like a grandpa. All right, so there we go. So there's the legs. So you can see these little clips. So I got this black belt. I got this belt for like $1 on a clearance bin from Dresso, the local supplier here in Vancouver. And I just added these little straps that have these little like suspender belt clips here attached. And the inner seam is where the stocking came together, the knitwear came together. So there we go. So there's the legs. Those look pretty good. And the feet feel good. They feel good. They don't feel like they're going to slip off. I can walk around in these, probably run around and do things. And then this entire top part here with the belt and the straps will be hidden anyway from the belly that'll come down. Probably come down to right, yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe as far down as the knees. I don't know yet. I got to put the whole costume on to see. But yeah, that's pretty good. So about the only thing I have left to do now is I need to take all the features of the face and attach them to the head. That's it. We just have to finish the head and then we're done. So let's take care of that. All right, so we got to start putting the features on. So here I've just taken the head and I've pushed all of the fur back and tied it back with the painter's tape. So this can just easily be peeled off afterwards, but it'll hold all the yarn out of the way. So this is the opening for the mouth here. This is what the eyes will see through. And here's the top part of the beak. And so I've marked some spots in 5 locations where the beak is going to be mounted. At first I was going to use zip ties. It's going to go through this part of the beak here that's going to attach to this. And at first I was going to use zip ties to run through, but now I've decided to go with bolts. Nuts, bolts, and washers, because I think that these are just the easiest because they're easy to remove, and instead of having a zip tie through, which would require 2 holes, with these I only need 1. So makes more sense. And it makes more sense too because the eyes and the ears are also going to be held on with nuts and bolts. So I might as well just keep the theme going. It's just the easiest way. All right, so that's it. So now I just have to puncture the holes into these spots in 5 locations, which will probably be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then attach that. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to attach the lower mouth, the lower beak to the top beak. But one thing at a time. First, let's get this top beak on. All right, well, I guess that's kind of working. There we are. There's the beak. It's sort of up. I was worried if it would be drooping a bit. If it was drooping, I thought we could always put a bracket in there to hold it up. I think it might be all right. But now I got to figure out how I'm going to get this lower beak. Basically, it just wants to kind of hang here. Maybe I'll just attach it with 2 screws. Oh yeah, I got the tongue, by the way. Here, I'll show this quickly. So here's the lower jaw. I put a little hole here. And here's the tongue that I've cut to the right length. So here's a screw. I'm just going to fit this screw and washer through a little hole. And then I'm just going to put it through this little hole in the lower jaw here. So now the tongue, that screw is going through the tongue and through the back part of the jaw, and I'm just going to attach this. I wonder if I should add a washer to this. Probably. I'll do it later. Oh, hold on, I have one. I might need a longer screw, actually. I don't know. All right, so there's the tongue attached now to the lower jaw. So I think what I might do is just attach it with on the 2 corners of the mouth here. And then maybe attach it to the side, to the upper jaw with a little bit of elastic to kind of make it just bob here. All right, I chose some longer screws so that we could have a little wiggle room because I do want this lower jaw to be able to be a little looser because it needs to move. Hopefully it can talk and stuff, we'll see. But at the very least, yeah. Anyway, we'll do this one at a time. Got my nuts and bolts ready here. All right, let's see here. I pre-made my holes. Okay, well, there it is. I mean, I know it's covered in the tape as well, but it's starting to come together. So I got to take off some of the painter's tape to see how it's going to lay. The beard that's under the chin might hold the mouth open enough. I don't know. And then, see, it can only close so far, though, as well because of the tongue. Unless I want to, do something to that tongue to flatten a little bit. But let me take off some of this tape. Well, okay. So like I said, now I have to decide. I don't know. What am I going to do about this? Am I going to have a little, like, ligament here that holds the mouth somewhat closed, or am I just going to leave it? I don't know. And I can reach in from underneath. Doesn't really want to go up and down very easily. Not as much as I was expecting. I might need to flatten the tongue a bit. Interesting, huh? Let's take off more tape. Let's do the full reveal here and see what he's gonna look like with this. He looks good. Doesn't that look cute? What an awesome character. All right. Well, I don't know about this mouth. Anyway, it's cool. It's pretty good. I like it. I got to think about this, though. I'm worried about this mouth hanging open too much. And it doesn't feel like I can manipulate the mouth very much from the inside like I was hoping. I might have to adapt the lower mouth a little bit. I don't know. I won't know until I get into it. Yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe with a... Well, anyway. We'll go with that for now. I still haven't decided if I'm going to paint this tongue or not. Anyway, it's kind of late now. I guess it's kind of late now. I kind of wish... I don't know. It's not so bad. Anyway, next let's work on the ear. Let's just keep on attaching things. So next we'll do the ears. Just got to make sure that these holes in the head are big enough to pass the bolts through. So I'm just making sure that they're nice and... The washers, I don't have to worry about making the holes too big. Within reason, because that's what the washers are for. The washers prevent the hole from being too big. Alright, so now this is the left ear. That comes out of the purple spot. All right, so now the two ears are on. Let's take a look and see how it looks now so far. All right, so there's the ears. Let's hopefully that's centered. Let me just see. Yeah, so the ears can move up and down. They're floppy ears. I can control those with a wire from the inside. All right, so the only thing left to do is the eyes. And yeah, I have the eyes here. I wanted to have, eventually I would like to have some kind of mechanical mechanism with the eyes. Possibly make the eyes move left and right, but I was just running out of time. I wanted to just get this project done. So I just made these temporary eyes with some bolts on the back and some washers. So I'll just find the right spot to put those, and then we'll put those through. And we should be pretty much done. Alright, I've marked where I want the holes for the eyes. Originally, I tried seeing what the eyes look like right down at the beak, and I took a picture of it. And yeah, that looked a little funny. I wasn't entirely happy. All right, so let's take a look at this. For the first time, guys. Hold on. All right. So here we are. Here's our first look at Moppy's head. Complete with all the parts attached. There we are. That's how it's got to look. So looking pretty good. Like I said, the eyes... I wanted to have a mechanism to make the eyes look left or right, and that'll probably have to be a future project. But the book, I had a book on puppet mechanisms, and I just couldn't find the book, so I just decided to make these stationary eyes for now. But that's good enough. So yeah, I don't know about the tongue though. The tongue's a little vibrant. I might have to actually paint that tongue. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but. Anyway, the only other thing left to do is to get this on the body. So all I have to do is just attach this to the body. So that's the next step. Let's see how it looks. If you put your hands up and just like held the head, so it's kind of stable. So it's not like all over the place. I'm just attaching it to basically the head and the back's going to be attached. So it's just one big piece that I can slip in and out of. I just don't know how I'm going to do this. It's going to be hard.
Oh, so your head's attached by a zipper?
Yeah. There's around the neck. There's like this zipper that goes around.
And yeah, it's hard.
Okay, so it's back. We got started.
What's this hard because you don't want to get it stuck in that?
Well, the yarn is okay. So now just move this hand around. Yeah, around. That's good. And this would look a lot better on a taller person. I'm going to be wearing this. I'm short, but anyway, it's okay. If I can get a tall dancer or something to wear this sometime and perform with or something. Mm-hmm.
You don't know any tall dancers.
Well, no. That's what I'm saying. That's why I got to start networking and meeting people and collaborating with different kinds of artists and stuff. That's where I'm planning on going with Vancouver Pupps. It's a collaborative art. I can't do everything on my own. I'd like to work for other people.
Well, you have two helps right here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but you guys aren't really
You're not very
performers, but you guys are awesome.
Excuse me?
Yeah. Okay, this is going really well.
I was the mouse in the grade 7 Christmas play.
You've actually been like, you're an honorary Vancouver Pup for sure. 'Cause you've helped me with the most. Okay, that's good. So now we'll kind of move around a little bit. Let me just take a look from a distance. The head's going to be a little wonky, huh? It's so cute. Anyway, eventually there's going to be like also a way to make the mouth move. The ears can go up, and I want the eyes to move left and right, but I'm missing the book on how to do that. But anyway, okay, good. And you can see out, right? Like is your eye level kind of staying like where the mouth is? But if I stuffed a bit more in the head, then it would sit up a bit more. It would be a little bit more up, and that would be better. Yes. Okay, so I add a bit more stuffing to the head. Okay. So that's everything for this one, guys. Our brand new character. Now I got to find some place to store it. The entire body, the legs and the feet can all be stored inside a garment bag, and the head, which becomes disattached, can fit inside a bin. So that's how he's going to be remaining until the next time I find some sort of use for him. Yeah, we've already shot one video with him, but hopefully we'll be seeing him again sometime in the future. All right? That's going to be everything for now, guys. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel by clicking on the link below. I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm Brandon from the Vancouver Pupps. Bye for now.
Watch the mud. Watch the mud.